Welcome to Dicejunkies. This is Tim.
Roger.
And today we are going to be reviewing Evolution Climate, the standalone game. So, back in, 2012?
Yes.
Evolution, the game came out. And the game itself, it's a card kind of based game where you draw a hand of cards, you create specific creatures, and you are vying for the most food. Mm-hmm. So in 2016, they came out with an expansion to it, the Climate Edition. And they made a standalone version. That's what we're actually reviewing today. So it takes parts of the original Evolution game and adds in a changing climate. That as you go through the game, as you're playing, your climate shifts from warmer to colder, temperate areas, and it kills off your creatures.
Alright,
So it gets hotter?
Yes, it does get hotter. We get cold snap.
Your creature dies.
Yes.
Oh,
All
it adds
creatures
to damage?
body size 1 or 2 lose 1 population.
Yep.
Oh, learning.
This is a size 1 or 2, but I prevent 1 population loss from heat or cold. It's a very, very interesting and generally fun game to play. We've played it a couple of times now, and we both enjoy it. Most everybody else that has played it has enjoyed it, so we hope to give it a fairly fair review. So let's start off with Evolution Climate. It is created by North Star Games. That's the publisher. Rating is 12 plus for the players. Yeah, I think you could probably go down a little bit in that. It's a somewhat simple game to play. It's not hard to learn. It is kind of hard to master because there are a lot of different cards and a different strategy that goes through the game when you're playing it. But I think probably maybe 10. You
could even probably go 8-year-olds.
8-year-olds,
yeah.
probably. So especially if they're used to playing board games. 2 to 6 players is your max, and the playtime, it says 60 minutes. So this is one thing that I did want to touch on. Playtime, 60 minutes. If you're playing maybe 3 or 4 players, yeah absolutely, 60 minutes tops, really. As you're playing the game, you are constantly drawing and passing out cards. The way that the game ends is because there's no point when a player actually drops out of the game.
Yeah.
If you lose all of your species, be it from not being able to eat and your population drops,
you get a new card.
Someone gets a carnivore. Yeah, it doesn't matter. If every turn, if you don't have a species, you get another one. So that is a good point. Everybody does get to play throughout the entire game. As soon as you do not have enough cards to pass out to everybody, game completely ends.
Yep. It ends immediately.
And that's the cool thing, because even though adding in a 5th or a 6th player, it may take you more time to feed, because as you're playing and you're making your trait choices and you're making your species choices, that's all happening at the same time. The feeding takes turns.
Yeah. I have to take the free meal.
Yeah, that's
so
a
lower your population by 1. Yep. Like, I don't want to lose.
And he also gets food.
That's fine. He can have the leftovers.
Alright, so...
I told you.
I get to eat.
Yes, that's right.
I told you Tim's going to beat you.
That's fine.
Because he sacrifices to the carnivores.
That's fine.
You're Mr. Non-Cooperative over there.
What do you mean?
Mudwalling?
Eat!
But because you've added in more players, more cards get passed out, and therefore it speeds up the game.
Yeah.
The game, I think the MSRP for this one is about $50. You can find it on Amazon right now. I think we found it for $47 is the first one I found.
Yeah.
You usually found it a little bit cheaper. Always check out your friendly local game store to see what they have it as, and just kind of go from there. But let's get into the actual review of the game. So, starting off, as we usually do, with design. Let's talk about the design a little bit about this one. It's pretty, It's the artwork is very artistic,
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, it looks like more like drawings and painting.
Yeah.
Quality is decent.
Yeah.
I mean, the cards could be a little bit better, but for what you get in that, it's not that bad.
As you can see, if you look in there, a lot of the cards are already bent, and this game's only been played probably about 5 or 6 times.
Right.
And the cards are very thin, and so they do bend easily.
And that's kind of what I mean. I mean, you do get a lot of cards, but they could be a little bit better quality. However, in the box itself, there is enough room. If you wanted to sleeve all of these, you definitely could, and there would still be enough room for you to put all the cards back. So that is a good point for that. The little bags that you have for your food are pretty decent quality.
Yeah.
I like those. The climate tracker, you can see the little sun over there near the dinosaur, is wooden, so that's pretty neat. It's kind of a mix mash. I think for me at least, I give the design on this a solid 3. The artwork doesn't necessarily do it for me, but the overall quality of everything kind of makes up for it.
And it makes sense the way they have the different variations of quality.
Yeah.
It makes sense, and it's simplistic in nature, but that's by design.
Right.
So, I also gave it a 3.
Yep. So we both scored it a 3 on design. Let's talk about, get into the nuts and bolts of this, the enjoyability. Roger, how did you feel about the enjoyability in this game?
I enjoy the game, but as we spoke a little bit offline, it does have a major drawback to the enjoyability, because one of the things I did when I first started playing is I was like, oh, you can be a carnivore. This is where it really hits me, is because those who enjoy being a carnivore are not going to really enjoy being a carnivore in this game. It is almost impossible to possibly win as a carnivore.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. As you're playing through the game, everybody starts off as an herbivore, and you are gaining more food from the watering hole.
Yep.
And the climate aspect of it does kind of adjust the watering hole somewhat.
Yeah.
Not enough really to make a big difference,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. But it adjusts how much food is in the watering hole. When you actually add the carnivore trait, you immediately become the attacker. You become the aggressor. You become a competitive person.
Yep.
And when you're playing with a bunch of people that are competitive, we all obviously want to be the carnivore. We want to eat each other and destroy them, because that's that's the surest way to destroy somebody else's population.
Absolutely.
Problem is, just like Roger said, when you become the carnivore,
you immediately become the target. Everybody wants to build up walls, and there's
you build up walls against it.
There are more defensive cards than there are offensive cards.
And it's way easier to eat vegetation, to be an herbivore, than it is to be a carnivore.
Yep.
And kind of like we spoke offline a little bit, that the carnivore almost seems to me, if you want to go for a good strategy, it is more of a one-shot thing. You create your creature that's a carnivore after everybody else has their herbivores, and then you do your damage and then immediately evolve it out. Or you put things in play that will sustain that carnivore. That's the main problem.
Yeah, and the thing is to even bolster your carnivore, if you go that route, you're looking at 2-3 turns in hoarding cards, and by that time, and you build your carnivore, everyone else has already been eating, gathering food, and the game's almost over if you're playing with more than 4 players.
And I know we've talked a lot about the mechanics about this so far already, but it really does go into the enjoyability of it. When you've got competitive players, they want to play as that carnivore. They want to be someone that is going out and taking out other people. That is like I said, that is the #1 way to make sure that people lose population. And it's hard to do, so I think that does roll over into enjoyability.
It does. And I've played the carnivore once, and honestly, I don't want to play it again, just because it's almost defeating.
Yeah, the first
to
time
play
I
as
played
a carnivore, and that's to me is a really hard hit for the enjoyability. Like you said, because you want to be the carnivore.
Oh yeah, everybody wants to be the T-Rex.
Yeah,
I mean, it's hard to be the T-Rex.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess realistically it makes sense because there was so fewer population of them.
Yeah.
But no, in game stance, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, getting away from the carnivore, the mechanics aspect of it, pacing of this game is not bad.
Yeah.
Everybody can do everything at the same time.
Yep.
There's not a lot of interaction that is required for the game between the players, but it does, I don't know, at least with the groups that I've played with, which I've played with 3 different groups, and we all are, basically just shit-talking everybody the entire time.
Yep.
So
even on the stream, that's all we
yeah,
did.
yeah. Oh, yeah, on the stream, definitely. But it does kind of... It draws it out of you a little bit, and I don't think it was originally created to do so. So that's a good thing. But overall, I believe in my stance, I'm going to give it a total of 2. 2 out of 5 for me on the enjoyability.
And 2 out of 5 for me as well.
Yep. So we've talked about the enjoyability. We've talked about the design of the game. We have actually already talked a little bit about the mechanics. Let's get a little bit more into the mechanics. So the basis is you have your species, you add traits, which are all completely dependent on the luck of the draw.
Yep.
And you build your creatures out, gaining more and more food as you go through. Fairly simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with that, there are a lot of different combinations that you can add into it. It's simple enough, like we mentioned earlier, an 8 or a 10-year-old could probably pick up on this game. The complexity, it does get a little bit more complex if you've got very strategic players.
To get those right combinations.
Yeah, but still, not in a sense that you can just completely lock it down.
No, you have, yeah. We played, and there's a particular combo I'll bring up, is the burrowing and hibernation. Mm-hmm. That combo is phenomenal if you have 2 population or 2 population. You cannot be attacked. However, it is a very bad strategy because you can't get any bigger.
Yep.
You become a target if there is a carnivore on the board. And so that limits you, and you have to constantly bolster and do anything else, and that puts you lower in the game by doing that.
And in the climate version of it, if you get into the cold, then having small populations, having small body size, that screws you up.
Absolutely.
Because you will wind up dying. As it gets colder or hotter, you wind up losing population. You lose your species because of that. Mm-hmm. So it's somewhat imbalanced in the fact that it tried to balance itself out. It wound up imbalancing the game. So
and the card randomness, in my opinion, I haven't counted all the cards,
mm-hmm.
but when we first played, I had 4 carnivore cards.
Yep, it's because you didn't shuffle.
We shuffled the shit out of those cards. We shuffled the shit out of those cards.
It's true. And that happens. Anybody that plays card games, you shuffle the game. It's all on the luck of the draw.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter how many times you can wind up with a hand of everything if it's a possibility.
Absolutely.
Those 1 in a million chances.
It was just frustrating.
Yeah. and that's a problem with it being, there's no dice added to it. There's no real worker placement added to it.
Yeah.
It's all dependent on the luck of the draw.
Yep. And
there's so many different cards that it doesn't balance itself out like some other card playing games do.
Yeah.
Altogether in mechanics, I also give it a 2.
I give it a 2 as well.
Yep. I mean, it's got the basis for a decent game. It definitely has some work that it can do.
I would hate to almost say it needs more traits.
Yeah.
I would almost hate to say that because that just adds more complexity to the game, but it needs more traits, especially on the carnivore side.
Or
going back to that.
If it was to add more traits, it could also reduce the amount, like keep the same total card count, but reduce the amount of individual cards and add in a few more traits.
Absolutely.
That should add up, to a decent randomness to it.
Yeah.
So replayability. And this one is a little tricky on replayability because it may not make too much sense, but I'll go ahead and give my score. I gave it a 3. Yeah, it's not the most enjoyable game that we've played. Like I'm not 100% fired up to play this game every single time. I enjoy it, but it's not, my favorite by any means. But it's so easy to play and it's so consistent in its timing that when you have a group of people that are playing, it's definitely, you've got an hour to kill there. Maybe some people are eating or some other people have stepped aside and you've got one designated group in your massive group of, players for the party. Play it. It's going to take you an hour.
Yep.
And you know that it's simple enough for anybody to learn and it's enjoyable enough that you don't regret playing it.
Yeah. It's almost I would call it almost a filler game.
Yeah, it does a very good job of a filler game.
Yeah. It's not your main game.
What else would you say about the replayability?
I gave it a 3 as well, just because I own the game. Me and my family do enjoy playing the game, so we do play it. We do play it at my house. People say, "Hey, you want to play it?" Yeah, we'll play it. But again, it goes back to I'm only going to play this way.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you're going to win. You can be a carnivore, like we did on stream, and be a dick and just kill off creatures, but you're not going to win.
Yeah. You may have fun doing that, but as was said on the stream, you can win by kill count or you can win for real.
Exactly.
One of the two.
Yeah.
And it's you're just not going to win doing a straight out carnivore.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. One of the things that was said in the game that when I actually played it earlier today was that this game kind of feels like something that you would buy at like the Natural History Museum.
Oh, yeah.
Or a zoo or something like that. And it fits. It's one of those that you would think maybe could be an educational learning game. Mm-hmm. But with that, I wouldn't bring it down to that level.
They actually have an Evolution kids game, and I want to say it actually is at the Natural Museum in Mississippi.
But the cool thing about it is that
it's got flying in there.
The game is fun enough that you can break it out for whatever. Adults should enjoy the game, at least for a single playthrough or two. Mm-hmm. The kids should enjoy the game because it's easy to learn, and it's got all sorts of animals, and you can eat each other, which is pretty cool. But altogether, it's just kind of meh.
Yeah.
The game itself, in total, we gave it a 10. I know we didn't really talk too much about the as far as like expansions or variations. There's not a variation. It's going to play the same way every single time.
Yep.
As far as expansions go, this is technically an expansion, but also a standalone game. There is the original Evolution version.
Yep.
And then there is a flying expansion for the original Evolution?
There's a flying expansion that has not come out yet, a standalone flying. But there is an Evolution children's version that does have some flying traits.
Yeah, which I assume would probably make it harder for the carnivore to eat you.
Yeah, but they have announced that they have announced that the flying expansion though will not work with climate. Yeah, you cannot use the climate expansion just because it will bolster too many cards and really off balance a lot of the cards where you have, hard shell. Say there's 12 copies of that. They'll end up being 20 copies of that, and total, if you add the climate, and like 8 of the other cards.
Yeah, it's. I think each version of this is really meant to be made, played standalone. Yeah. So I don't have a problem doing this as a standalone game as opposed to doing it as an expansion itself.
And I would be excited to play the flying expansion to see if they improve on the predators.
Absolutely.
I would love to see a carnivore fly.
Oh yeah, like a big pterodactyl with a big T-Rex head.
I've got climbing. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, nope. Your climbing does not matter. Oh, you've got migration. I can fly over there and eat your ass.
You got hard shell. I'll just pick you up and drop you.
Yep. So there's a lot of things that could be coming to it. I'm eager to see what happens to it. Again, overall, a 10. It's worth a play. Yeah. If you know somebody that has this game, give it a shot.
And if you're a science nerd, get this game because it has a lot of cool science stuff in the books.
Science stuff in the books. It's got a lot of cool science stuff in the cards themselves. A lot of things that work well together that you could actually see in nature. Yeah. Which is kind of neat. Definitely, I would say for this one, try it before you buy it. Yeah. It may not be for you. But yeah, altogether, 10 in total, not too bad. Evolution Climate, give it a shot if it's something that you're interested in. If nothing else, the art in it is neat. It does have a very painting aspect to it.
Yeah.
Has the science thing going for it.
Again, it's a good-looking game,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
a good-looking
simplistic by nature.
Right. So, guys, that has been our review of Evolution Climate. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Check out Evolution Climate, again, made by North Star Games. Check us out later on Twitch. We do these playthroughs every Thursday. And we do reviews, podcasts, painting videos, all sorts of things on YouTube. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram to see what is coming up next, as well as Facebook. And with that, I think all I can say is keep playing games, guys.
Yep. See you next week.